Hey friends, what's going on? It's Georgie and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be doing a repotting tutorial slash demo, whatever you want to call it. And the protagonist of this video is this really cool looking guy right here. At a first glance, this might seem like it's a cactus because it's very similar in appearance, and that's a very common mistake that a lot of people make, when in fact this is called a Euphorbia. This one in particular is a Euphorbia heptagona, and I want to make a video later just stating some of the differences between cactus and euphorbias because, like I said, even though they look similar, they have different properties. So to start off, I wanted to share first some of the materials that we'll be using. I have this, I believe it's an 8-inch pot, which is what we're going to be putting in. This is a really nice terracotta pot that I repurposed. I used to have another plant in here, but I just like to reuse my pots once the plants grow out of them. This is a nice terracotta pot, just very simple. I got it at IKEA for around like $7 or $8. It came with its little tray, which is good for drainage, and it has a drain hole at the bottom. Of course, we have our beautiful little euphorbia here. And here in these grow pots, I have some, I guess this is like gravel or some kind of stone. I have some more gravel here. I have my gardening trowel, and I have some decorative pebbles that I'm going to be placing at top. And also in this tub right here, I have my already prepared potting soil. What else? I also have this rag to, clean up. I like to keep my space clean as much as I can. And I have this like rubber, I don't know what this is, like a latex rubber band. I guess it's used for fitness, but since I don't have gloves with me, I misplaced mine. It's a good tool to use if you're working with prickly plants such as cacti, euphorbias, even yuccas. They have these razor-like leaves that can cause damage to your hand. We want to keep our hands nice and safe. So I'm going to start by placing some of these rocks underneath to create a layer for the water to drain. Before I dive into this, I wanted to share something from this really amazing book that I just got recently for Christmas. It's called The Kinfolk Garden. I really recommend it. So Kinfolk is a magazine that is quarterly based in Copenhagen, and they came out with this really cool issue just dedicated to gardens and plants and all that stuff. I've been reading this and I'm just enjoying it so much because I used to be a big fan of the Kinfolk magazine, and now that I'm really into like gardening and anything to do with plants, this is like one of my favorite books so far. I'm about like a third of the way finished, but what I actually wanted to share that I found out while reading this is that here's a section that it says a little bit about how to pot and repot, and let's see, it mentions that if you must put a plant into a pot without drainage holes, do not, as often advised, add a layer of gravel as a drainage layer. This only creates a space where root rot bacteria can fester. Instead, just be cautious when watering. So, I mean, this is probably a very important tip that we should follow. I'm not very careful when it comes to watering because my plants are just outdoors and they're very low maintenance, so I like to go ahead and take the risk of adding the gravel. But if you want to use this, it's completely up to you. I doubt that it's gonna like deeply affect your plant. All gardeners and people have different techniques, so I'm just gonna share mine with you guys today. So let's start off by pouring some of this gravel. I'm gonna do maybe about like 2 or 3 inches high. Ooh, this one's kind of big. Alright, so after creating this bed of gravel, I like to use these clay pebbles that are just amazing for if you accidentally overwater your plant. What clay does is that it absorbs water, so I actually got these at IKEA. They call them Adla at IKEA. You can find them at their like gardening section. I'm sure you can also get them at like a nursery or at, you know, like a Home Depot or whatever. So let's go ahead and add a few of these guys on top of our gravel. I always find repotting to be a very fun activity. It's like, you know, bakers making their cake. You know, it has like their own little system and list of ingredients, so these are my ingredients. Except that we're not gonna eat it at the end. Alright, so once we have placed our clay pebbles, I'm gonna go ahead and just put a small layer of potting soil on top, just so that the root of the plant isn't directly touching the gravel or the pebbles. Now, when it comes to choosing the size of the pot that you're gonna switch your plant from the nursery pot, you typically wanna choose one that's, you know, not too big, but at least like 15 to 20% larger than the pot it comes from, so that, you know, it has a good amount of space to grow and spread out its roots. So let's go ahead and do the hard part now. So the first thing I do is kind of like press on the sides of the nursery pot. Since these are made out of plastic, it's not a very hard thing to do. And with euphorbias, if we don't have much experience, we do want to protect our hands. I've been doing this for a while, so I just like to use my bare fingers, and you know, I like how it feels to touch the soil, and I feel more connected to the plant this way, but that's just me. So what I like to do is grab the plant by its skin, you know, sort of like grasp my fingers around these very sharp thorns that it has, and slowly and very gently pull it out of its grow pot. So I'm just going to shake off some of this old soil because it doesn't have as much nutrients anymore. And here it has a little baby that I'm carefully going to snap off, and I'll be planting this in another nursery pot so that we have more euphorbias. So here is what the roots look like. And like I said, if you're very careful and hold your euphorbia by the non-prickle, like by its skin, it's going to be very easy to handle. So once we have it somewhat centered, I like to create this little cavity so that it's not like wobbling all over the place. All we do is, you know, just start to fill our pot with soil. This can be a messy activity to do. So if you are repotting your plants indoors, I do recommend you set up like a tarp or a tablecloth or something, just so that you don't make a mess inside of your home. And something important when it comes to, here, let me just take the tray out of the way so we don't we don't drop it or anything. Something important when it comes to repotting is that we do want to compact as much as we can of the soil, because otherwise this creates air pockets, and when you water your plant, what's going to happen is that those air pockets are going to end up sinking the plant, and we don't want that to happen, right? I'm going to center it a little more. Oh, this is gonna look so cool. I like how the terracotta sort of like contrasts and makes a good, you know, combo with the pale green of the plant. This Euphorbia has something very unique, which are its like rosy red colored thorns. Even at some of these, the tips of these, they grow these like tiny little flowers, which I just find it like so unique. So let me just finish up adding this soil. So the kind of soil that I'm using is just your standard potting soil. Some picky plant experts like to use a more like specific like cacti or succulent soil when it comes to these plants. I don't really think that's that big of a deal unless, you know, you water it a lot, and that's an issue. But with this guy, since the soil is already pretty moist, it's not even going to need to be watered in like until it's almost dry. So we don't want to fill the pot all the way. We want to leave around an inch or two at the top so that we have room to place our decorative stones. And I'm just gonna get my hands dirty for a minute here. So yeah, I want to make sure I take out all of those air pockets. And be very careful if you're not using hand protection, so that your fingers don't get hurt. So let's add just a little more and we'll be finished with the soil. So let me go ahead and clean up my space, and I'll be back with the last part, which is the decorative stones. Alright you guys, I'm back. You know, gardening can be quite a messy thing, but it doesn't have to be that way. I personally like to keep a clear and clean workstation. It just, you know, makes the experience a lot more enjoyable for me. So before we finish off with this one, I don't want to forget about our little baby Euphorbia right here. So I'm going to place this in a 4-inch grow pot that I had lying around. And what I do with this is I just fill up the grow pot with my finger. I do a small cavity and I sort of like pinch the sides, and so that our plant isn't like falling over. And yeah, there's our little baby Euphorbia. So I hope you grow a very long and healthy life. I'll put this to the side and back to our main guy. So let me just go ahead and wipe down the terracotta pot. We do want to make sure that we add more pressure towards the base of the plant so that when we shake it, it's not like wobbling. And look how nice that looks. I'm very happy. I've been wanting to repot this guy for a while, but I just, you know, I have so many plants that I hadn't gotten a chance to do it. So I have these multicolored river stones that I'll be using for this guy. These are completely optional. I like the way they look, so I'm gonna go ahead and add these. Just gonna wipe this down one more time. And we are finished repotting our gorgeous Euphorbia. So I'll go ahead and insert some clips and close-ups of how this turned out. Alright, so we're now finished repotting our plant, and I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. I think that the choice of this terracotta pot was a very good one. I'm sure this lovely Euphorbia is going to be very happy here. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of like tutorial plant repotting demo. If you did, make sure to give me your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for watching my video, supporting this channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.